What's going on, folks? It's me once again. Who else would it be? Other than me and my ugly mug. This is the introduction to the third episode of the Living with Venom miniseries podcast. It's a lot of typing. This I'm actually um, doing an introduction for my chat with Mark from Mark's Reptiles. Who Mark has a pretty large following on YouTube and Instagram. I believe he's got like over 100,000 followers on Instagram. And I can't remember how many on YouTube, but anyone who is familiar with Mark knows that Mark is very geared towards education. He's got a lot of integrity, which we talk about in here. He's very good at turning negative situations into positive situations, which is something that I need to fucking learn. I think a lot of us could benefit from, having some traits and qualities like that, especially dealing on social media where anybody can say anything to trigger you. But we talk about that a little bit as well. But, Mark is all about information. He's not someone who is like really into the breeding game. He's done it before, as he talks about a little bit in here. But, he's more so about the husbandry, the rearing, and the longevity, and basically the natural science behind the animals, which is the most important thing. And we discuss a lot about that. Some of the ups and downs. A little bit about I guess at this point there's just certain conversations, and maybe I kind of open the door for that as well, because I do point out everything, negative and positive. Like, I'm not just going to point out positive things, or I'm not just going to point out negative things, because both of those things exist on the same plane within the reptile world. But it's very interesting conversation. Definitely I would say one of my favorites. They're all my talks, all my podcasts, honestly, or maybe except for one wasn't my favorite, and luckily that one never aired that I know of. But yeah, like I said, Mark is pretty well known. He keeps over 30 venomous snakes. He does have one non-venomous snake, which we talk about in here as well. But yeah, venomous snakes. We talk about his transition. That I didn't know that he worked at a venomous facility. Maybe you said it was a venomous facility. Maybe it was just a reptile facility that has venomous. One of the two, or both, maybe. But so like I said, I found out that as well. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it, man. Just keep tuning in. The first episode is already up. By the time this episode is up, the second episode will be up, featuring Alligator Aatrox from the UK. We talk about policies in the United Kingdom and what it takes to be a venomous keeper over there, as well as other aspects of the reptile world in the EU, the UK, and then versus over here in the United States, North America. I need to start dipping more into what's going on down in South America with the herds, because there's a lot of dogs down there, but I don't see a lot of reptile people down there who are keeping and breeding. I know there was that one guy that I used to be friends with on Instagram for years, Mowgli. Now there's another guy named Mowgli, and it's not the same guy. This guy, Mowgli, was actually from French Guiana. Yeah, I wonder what happened to him. If anybody sees this and knows who I'm talking about, guy from French Guiana, long hair, like ponytail, always out, kind of like Tarzan style, kept a lot of different snakes and spiders and insects. Let me know. Shoot me his page, because I looked up Mowgli and another guy come up. It's not the same guy. So, but anyway, without further ado, enjoy this conversation with Mark from Mark's Reptiles. I will see you people in the next one. What is going on, people? It is me, Rain. Get to see my ugly mug one more time. I'm going to see it a few more times. And as always, for this mini series, I have a special guest. And honestly, this guy needs no introduction, but I'm still going to let him introduce himself when I get done yapping. Again, just to keep everybody in the loop, this is one of a few mini series. I am working on a history of the reptile trade. So if anyone who is watching this miniseries that's been around maybe since the 70s or 80s, or just in general, if you want to get on and I can get some random footage from you, just with some random questions that I have, that would be much appreciated. I am going to start getting the sponsors up here soon. Just give me some time. Got a lot of stuff going on. But without further ado, I'm going to let the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Mark from Mark's Reptiles introduce himself, and then we're going to dive into this Living with Venom chat.
What is going on, everyone? Grateful to be here. And yeah, thank you so much for having me on.
Appreciate it. Now, I can't remember if I met you when I was in Colorado. I know it's been a couple years because we had talked about doing something on my original channel, and I know that's been over a year for sure. So, but Mark, I'm not, it's nothing specific. I just want to have a chat, just about, like I told you, just about venomous stuff. But I do want to get people an idea. How long have you been working with venomous?
Probably over 10 years, I would say.
Okay. So did you make a transition? Was there a transition from non-venomous into venomous? Was it like a mix, or how did that happen? How did you go? Did you go from non-venomous to venomous, or were you just like straight to venomous?
Yeah, so it was, I'd say, a little transition. It was just random non-venomous, and then I don't know when it was, but I'd always loved venomous snakes and wanted to work with them. And then I think when I realized I was able to work with them, I think pretty much I just realized people are allowed to work with these animals. So that's when I transitioned, and yeah, I think that's what it was, non-venomous. And then I think a big part was realizing where I am, I'm allowed to keep venomous snakes.
So because it's a conversation, I would imagine that anyone who has, whether you made a transition or you just dove straight in, it's a conversation that you have to sit down and have a talk with yourself. You know what I mean? Because you're already dealing with an animal group that doesn't have a good rap. And then when you want to throw venom into the mix, people automatically assume that because you have a cobra, that this animal is not only deadly, but I want to say aggressive and just out to kill and out to bite. And why would you want to own these things? Why would you want to do anything with these animals? So when you were okay, you know what? You found out that you could have these animals. How did it start? How did you start? Okay, well, is there protocol that you have to follow where you are? As far as any hours? Because you may be a place where I am, where if you got the money and you're what is it, 18? I think you're good to go. So was there was there any protocols that you had to go through? Did you just start setting the room up or getting an idea of what you wanted to start?
Well, I can tell you pretty much the whole thing is here you don't need anything.
Okay.
But I do work at a facility where, that's where I had venomous before working there, but working there I was able to, hone in my skills by learning from my boss. But I do remember that it was, I think on Instagram at that time, you could only post pictures. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I realized there's other people that love these animals. And then I'm seeing the comments, people just attacking each other. And I remember reading up, learning all the scientific names, because if you just said the common name, people would bash you. And I remember that too. And I got my first one. I'm using all these scientific names. And I thought that's how you had to be. And that's why a big part now, I'm trying to be that person where people can ask any question. And because it breaks my heart, honestly. If you see somebody just wanting to learn, how are they supposed to know these things?
Right.
when I
Right.
get
No,
back.
right. No, you're that's 100% correct. Dude, I've had that conversation on and off record, many times. Is there's a lot of beefs that have started up because of the age difference. Like I think that may have been like the original like thing. And then with the scientific names, those two things, I remember coming up in the 80s and whatnot. Like, if you said something wrong or if it wasn't right, that people would laugh at you or they would think that, oh, I'm not going to sell this guy an animal because he just pronounced the name wrong. And then you find out 10 years later they were pronouncing it wrong. You know what I mean? So you never know. So I definitely understand that, and it does make people, kind of like, well, I don't even know if I want to even get into this because I can't even ask the questions that I need to ask.
Yeah, because I remember being excited and then like seeing that there's other people out there that work with these animals, and then seeing how it was, and I didn't even want to like comment or talk to these people because it was like it just ruined that excitement of finding out other people are interested.
Right.
And yeah, that's the one thing that bothers me most is seeing that.
Well, dude, I gotta say, I'm actually kind of glad you brought that up because I've seen a good deal of your content online, on Instagram and on YouTube, and like, bro, you got a lot of integrity. Because I mean, you don't get a lot of negativity, but obviously there's always some knuckleheads, and I see it. I'm just like, I remember the first time I saw someone like making a negative comment toward you, and I'm like, dude, this is like the chillest guy ever. Like, why are you like me? I can understand, but dude, you took it and you just like turned it into a joke, and I thought that was like, I was like, nah, that's some witty shit right there. I was like, because I mean, I have positive character traits, and I have negative ones, and I don't know if I could do that all the time. I can't do that all the time. Like me, I think I'm a little too sensitive. So I definitely got to give it to you in there because you've got quite the following. Did you, and in that aspect, did you ever think like you got like 100,000 something followers just on Instagram alone? Like, did you, when you woke up one day and you saw that number, were you like, damn, this is crazy? But I'm pretty sure being the person that you are, you're probably excited because that's a lot of people to reach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like with the negative stuff, the way I think about it is, and this might be insightful for anyone listening, when in my head I want to reply with how I truly feel,
Right.
But when I think about it, it's like if I respond rudely back, that's not going to change their view on the snakes.
Right.
But if I reply positively, there is a chance, even if it's unlikely, that they could change their view, And that has happened many times. Online, it's a lot different, that. Like in person, it's completely different talking with people. And so that's one of the things. But when they talk about hurting my snake, that's when, like, inside, I want to say something.
I can imagine that. Right. And that's a thing with social media. It's got beautiful parts to it and it's got ugly parts to it. And one of the ugly parts is like anybody can get on and pretty much say anything. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately. But no, I mean, dude, I love it's brilliant, I think, the way you handle it, because I don't know a lot of people that do that. Like, some people will go and they'll make a full blown video about a comment that someone said, and like they're going off and they're just like, and they let them know that they got to them, and whatever it is. But one question I meant to ask you early on, but slipped my mind. What was the first hot that you ever bought or that you ever had, just in general, whether you caught it, bought it, you were given it?
Mexican canteel.
Okay, and that's literally my thing. I think I've told you this more than once. I have been obsessed with canteels since forever.
Dude, they're amazing. They're the coolest out of that genus.
And they're so hard to find now. I remember back in the day, in the 90s, before I knew that, a protocol of trying to own a venomous snake where I lived, it just wasn't going to happen in Maryland, D.C. Virginia, I had no idea because we didn't really go out to Virginia. But I remember seeing them on like Crutchfield's price list back in the day, some of the old Glades, Diamond Reptile distributors. They're like $45,
Mm.
$50. Dude, I don't think you can find one now for like $400 or $500 when you find them, which is very rare.
Mm.
So yeah, that's because I remember every time I see you post that snake, or anyone post one of those snakes, I'm definitely in love with the Echistrodon. So after you got that snake, did you get what they call like hot fever, or were you able to like pace yourself? Because I know some guys personally, and some guys I don't know personally, like they'll get a hot, and then like 4 or 5 days later they got another one, and then they got another one, and then 30 days later they've got like 12 of them.
Yeah, I don't
And
know if it happened that quick.
I didn't happen that quick for me either.
Yeah, but there've been times where, and I feel like I've gotten to that point again recently where I've taken in too many things and it kind of ruins that um, the passion almost. But it's not even like me going out and getting it. It's like helping other people out,
Right.
and then I feel overwhelmed, and then I'll have to, um, I only have like a few friends that I talk to and trust with animals, so
Right.
usually like
Especially dealing with venomous animals like that. Like
yeah.
it's a whole nother ball game. So yeah, no, it's definitely understandable. Like I think I top out at like a dozen. Like
Mm.
I can't, even like I mean I've had me and my partner at our facility in Cali have got like over 300 snakes, all non-venomous, and it's a lot. Like we had someone hire, we had hired someone to help us out, but it's still a lot. And like I said, then when you're dealing, and then depending on what species you have, when you start dealing with venomous, when you get into your mambas and your forest cobras, and how many snakes do you have over? Do you have anything non-venomous over there at all, or is it just all venomous?
A rainbow boa.
Rainbow. Okay, well, that's
Yeah.
another one of my favorite snakes, and I grew up like I didn't. I used to be obsessed with them as well. Well, how many snakes, venomous snakes, do you have?
Probably around 30.
Okay.
But the thing with the non-venomous, and I have a problem with this, it's I'll get one. So like it was before, like if I had friends over that they can hold a snake, but
Right.
working with people and then seeing like kids that are excited about snakes, I'll always give away the non-venomous one. So that was a big problem. Like,
Gotcha.
and right now this rainbow boa is just psycho.
Yeah, they can be kind of nippy. I've bred them in the past. Beautiful animals, but yeah, they can
Mm-hmm.
definitely be nippy. So, did like 30 venomous snakes? Like that's a lot. Do you have other responsibilities as far as like? I mean, obviously, everyone knows you just had a baby, as obviously, but I mean, just aside from that, I mean, like all of us, I think most of us, I would say, have responsibilities besides coming in our reptile room and dealing with deadly animals. Like, do you ever have any like conflicts with other responsibilities that deal with your, do they ever clash at all? Like where you may have to do something or you're trying to do something, or maybe it's content related and you just can't do it that day? Or have you had days where you're like, man, I've been in my reptile room in like a day and I need to get in there? Like, does that ever happen? Or if you're just too tired to go in there one day, like any situation like that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like especially for work, I work with these animals. Then I come home. Sometimes, well, maybe like with the content related thing, a lot of times it takes time. Like if I'm cleaning out the snakes, it can be very quick. But if I'm going to film, that makes a 1 hour job like an all day thing,
Right.
and I won't even get through all of them. So a lot of times, especially recently with having a son, I don't have time to spend out there filming all the time. So
Right.
um, I'll usually just go out there and do what I need to do. And that is one of the benefits of snakes is a lot of freedom. But
Very true.
but yeah, there's been times too where in the past dealing with things in life, and I felt like I was letting the animals down because I wasn't taking as much care of them, like dealing with certain issues. And then that was a time where I like, even though I think that I should, if I take in an animal, I should care for it. But if I realize like I'm not doing what I need to do, then I had to find a home for those animals. So I cut back during that time.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that's very important. I mean, even to be able to realize that, because I know a lot of people love these animals, and then you have some people who like these animals, and it's okay that they continuously get them. And there's a difference between liking and loving. So, having a passion for something and then just having them, because now these animals can make you money in other ways, whether you breed them or not, through content. And I have definitely seen a number of people, I would say, using animal, and not just reptiles, but using animal as props, to get things. I guess in the venomous world, and you can tell me if you agree with this or not. In the venomous world, we're secluded in a way, because it's not something that you can do in all 50 states. For one, so our market is different. The people who do it are different. Some states have different type of protocols that you have to go through. And like I said, and it's a totally different ball game when you have to come in here in any state, whether you're tired or you're full of energy, because one nick can be, that can be all she wrote for you, and that's it. Do you think that, or do you think that, do you know, or how do you feel about the venomous world kind of falling into the social media thing, like especially in light of what recently just happened in South Carolina? I mean, obviously that's not the first time, and it unfortunately probably won't be the last time. What is your take on all of that? When you see it, like, do you have an issue with the free handling? Do you have an issue with, there's a lot of content now, and I think the venomous is getting to be seen way more than we ever have been before. I've been doing venomous for 15 years, and I never thought we would be, where we are now. How do you feel about where we are right now?
Like, personally, even when I don't agree with certain things or whatever, I don't care what people do. The thing that I personally believe affects the worst, or is the worst part of social media, is all of the division, because like you said, it's not going to be the last time something happens.
Right.
And like, mistakes are going to happen. People that are going to get into it for the wrong reasons are going to happen.
Right.
If we, already a small little community, can't come together, that's going to be the downfall. And I believe that 100%. So I feel like I can't even get on like Facebook when something, even in general, I don't think it's even when something happens, all those venomous groups or snake groups are always some type of drama.
So right. No, for sure. Definitely. I did my best to avoid social media for a long time, as far as putting out content or doing anything. And I had a lot of requests over the years, like, bro, how come you don't have a YouTube channel? How come you don't have a YouTube? I'm like, first of all, bro, I don't even know how to, all the editing and all that stuff. Like, I'm new to that, all that. So I try to do everything with a one take. Like this interview, this podcast that we're doing, I like it this way. I don't have to edit. I go and I add an intro, and then that's it. I don't have to go and add, now, don't get me wrong, I'm working on documentary stuff, but still, it's just like, I'm more about the information. That's the most important thing to me. And I know that is with you as well, because you can sit and pull out snakes all day and you can get 1 million subscribers, but then they don't learn anything. They just, oh, wow, Mark's pulling out snakes. But you're actually talking to people about what you're doing, why you're doing it, and why they shouldn't do it. And if they are going to do it, then this is how it needs to be done. And I don't think that there's enough of that. I also, like I said, I avoided social media for the longest, and when I did come into the forefront, it was a few years before the Competes Act came out, that I knew about that, because I have a friend who's on the Senate and told me some things, and so I said, okay, well, let me get on this, because I love reptiles. I didn't expect what happened to happen. I actually thought that they would have been happy to get the information, and but there was a total opposite. And so then I I kind of like shut down. And it's kind of like what you were saying with people being new. And I've been here for a while. I've been here since '88. So I felt that I've been pretty comfortable here. I've been kind of low key, but it's kind of like what you said. People come in and then they don't feel comfortable because they asked a question or they mispronounced something or they didn't say something right. And then they got chewed up. I was just going around the podcast trying to promote insurance and a private registration and self-regulation. But those three topics, how do you feel about those three topics? Because to me, it's an important question. And I ask everybody this, and I've gotten some pretty radical answers that I would never have expected people to say. And then I've gotten the common answers, and then I've gotten some, just some answers where I'm just like, all right, well, you probably shouldn't water a dead plant. You know what I mean? But how do you feel about the lack of insurance, the lack of structure or instability, in the community? I mean, we've been in the States. This has been going on since 1940. Like, and like you said, we've probably been in it for around the same time. Like, what do you feel about the lack of certain things after all these decades?
Could you elaborate a little bit more?
It's like not being able to get any of your animals insured, whether they're venomous or non-venomous. Like, you pay, whether it's $500 or $5,000 for an animal, and it dies on you. There's no the health insurance that's offered doesn't really work for everybody. And there's only one place that offers it. So there's no liability insurance here. There's no health insurance for the animals, and you can't put them, like my dogs have health insurance, liability, and they're on my homeowner. So if my house burns down, obviously I'd love to have my dogs, but at least I'll get compensation. Like, there's nothing like that for reptiles.
Yeah, since I'm not I figured with dogs and stuff, and probably with cats, it's probably required to have insurance and stuff for it, right? So I don't have knowledge.
Yeah, not necessarily required. There are some breeds in some states and some counties that are nitpickers like that, but overall, no. But you can pretty much insure almost every animal except for reptiles and amphibians through your most well-known companies.
Really? Yeah. I guess
most people don't know that. And when I do bring that up to people, they're like, well, I would like to have insurance on my animals if I could get it. Mm-hmm. And I say, okay, well, that's great, because it's definitely, I've been working on it for 6 years. Actually, it's been well over 6 years now that I think about it. It's been about 8 years now. Going into 8 years, and then trying to create a private registration that self-regulates our breeding habits, and then just promoting a system of pedigrees and family trees that are available to everybody as a service, so that U.S. ARC wouldn't have to ask for donations, because we would make way more money bringing off of registering clutches and litters and things like that than we would be, hey, there's a bill, can you send us money? Mm. Do you have any thoughts about that at all? I mean, because I know it's something, I think in the reptile community, a lot of us don't think about it, is because it's never been set up that way. And if it's hard to think about something that you've never, how can you tell me what a book is about if you don't know anything about it? You know what I mean? So
that's where I'm at right now.
Right. And that's why I throw these questions out there. And it is because it'd be different, I guess, if we'd only been in the limelight for 10 years. But like I said, it's been since 1940s. And we've shipped, I have the numbers on this stuff, I'm super, super deep. I can show you the numbers from 94 to 98 of the millions of reptiles imported and exported just out of the United States alone. It's like 30 million. And reptiles live pretty long time, most of them. Where are all those animals today? Some of those animals should still be here, or their progenitors, or you know what I mean? But it was also documented that during those times, that those were the times when the majority, the highest mortality rate of reptiles was happening, up until 85. So they were like they were coming in, but they were dying just as fast as they were coming in. But oh, hold on, I had something else I wanted to ask you as well. You're the only person I wrote questions for because I had, you know, I wanted to do something specific, and because we talked about doing this for a while. Anti-venom. Do you have anti-venom? Do you have access to anti-venom? Because I don't know anybody that really does.
Yeah, no, that's what that on the other one. I can't remember his name. Who's the guy again that you were talking to?
Oh, Spencer Yoho. Yeah.
Yeah. So there is that group where it's really great that they set it up where they help you through the process. But yeah, back when we were into it at first, people would always say like have anti-venom, but no one would tell you how to get it.
Right.
And then
right.
half of the people, even today, that are saying all this stuff, they're just hoping nothing happens to them because they don't have it either. So
exactly.
like the online thing, it kind of wraps back into that negativity sells. So although like in all aspects, negativity to each other, negativity or negative, I find it negative, like teasing a snake to get it to strike and stuff. It'll do good, but I don't think it really helps the general public, especially if you're not explaining it. Like, oh, it's reacting to me waving my foot in front of it. So, like, even though I have subscribers, it's like luck. I'm not good at social media. Like, I don't get views, but some videos will do well. But I always think real hard about that. Like, what am I saying and what am I posting? Is it going to help? Some snakes, you know, are just a little crazy, that individual snake. But there's so much stuff out there about the negative side of snakes that I don't want to reinforce it.
Right.
But yeah, the anti-venom, that group is actually great. I can't remember the name of it, but did he ever send it to you?
Yeah, he's gonna send it. I have yet to text him. I'll do that this probably tomorrow. But yeah, I definitely want to check him out because it is something like in this, like you said, that most of these people that are doing all the talking are just they are hoping that, you know, that they don't get bit. I mean, I don't want to get bit by a non-venomous snake. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like I always had a rule growing up. Like, I mean, obviously I didn't get into venomous like in my personal space until about 15 years ago, but you know, catching copperheads and rattlesnakes on the East Coast, I'd always say, like, because I'd sneak them home, you know, for like a week or so, and then I'd let them go. But I always said, like, I treat my non-venomous and my venomous the same. You know, I treat it because I don't want to get bit, even though you're gonna get bit if you're, and I'm not saying by a venomous snake, you're gonna get bit at least once in your life dealing with snakes. Hopefully, it's not a venomous snake, but I think that with like stuff like happening like with Jeff and things like that, and then in light of what happened with Dingo, which was super unfortunate, I think people now who have no idea about the reptile world, so now they're kind of looking at us like, man, those guys with snakes, we already knew they were crazy, but now look, they're getting, you know, now they're getting bit or this or that and their other, and that's why I wanted to do this and kind of give them a glimpse into like the day-to-day things that we deal with these animals and why we do it. Like, honestly, like I didn't know that you worked at a facility with venomous snakes until you just told me right now. And we've like I said, we've been talking. We haven't had like super deep conversations, you know, but still, you know, check in. Hey, how's it going? You know, this, that, and the other. But you know, I didn't know that at all. I just know like this dude's got a lot of snakes over there. You know, like, but
you know, like even with bites, look. You were talking about numbers and stuff. You see the chance of survival in the United States or places where there is good health care, how unlikely it is to pass away, and the fact that it's always the person that works with them. So, you know, that's one thing that people always say is, I guess I don't know where I'm going with this, but you work with dogs and stuff too. And I'm sure you know about how many each year get killed by dogs.
Yeah, specific
like breeds. You don't even hear about that. And it's sometimes even few-day-old babies. Imagine if that was anything else.
Right. No, that's you're absolutely right. Unless it's something like 5 or 6 dogs attacking one person, like what recently happened, then you don't hear about it. And then the other problem when you do, and this has happened, I've seen with the reptile. Actually, this happened with Jeff, and I've seen it happen before. Is when something does happen with these animals, the media like never shows the right animals. Like everything's a pit bull. It's always a pit bull, and then they show the dog, and it's like a pug. You know what I mean? Or it's like some other breed that it doesn't like that dog doesn't even look, but the media says it's a pit bull. I remember when Jeff got bitten, one of the news stations kept saying taipan, but they were showing a ball python every time they said taipan. So if I don't know anything about reptiles and I see that, and I know this guy just got bitten by, they said, is the world's deadliest snake, and then I see that, you know, and then I might go to someone's house like, oh, this dude's got a taipan. Like, you know what I mean? Like, why you got a taipan? You're like, taipan, that's a ball python. Like, no, man, the news said. So, you know, you know what I mean? So then there's that. And then you have to, and then you run into those people. Like, I think, and you may get this a lot. I know other people have told me, and it's like a pet peeve of mine. Some people are like, my cousins, like, I'll be in here doing something. They're like, man, don't get bit. I'm like, bro, can you stop saying that shit, please? Like, none of us want to get bit, first of all. No, we don't want to get bit. No, I don't know too many people that just come in their reptile room with venomous snakes and just start doing dumb things. So how do you think? Go ahead.
Do you think that in with the Jeff situation, you know, people don't want it, stuff like that spreading, but do you think that the people in the reptile world are the ones that spread negative things the most?
Oh, for sure, bro. I think I've been in the fish community, horse, dog, birds, big cats. I've been in all of them, and they're all crazy. Don't get it twisted at all. They all got their ups and downs, but I can honestly say that the reptile community is definitely the most toxic of all the animals. And other people, even Chandler and some of, they were just, after that, Jeff, they were talking about how fake we are to each other. And I'm like, bro, it's so true, because I've had incidents like that where people I thought were cool, and then I did a podcast, and then so-and-so says something about something that I said. I'm like, bro, that's not even really, ultimately, I didn't even say that. But so it's definitely like, anytime you see a post where it's like, oh, it should have been you and not Dingo, or, you know, oh man, they should have, you know, I wish you would have died. If I had the anti-venom, I'd have hung it over your bed. Just, dude, that's crazy. Here's my thing, Mark. Like, I'm not the friendliest person, right? I'm not. And everyone who knows me, they were telling me, like, when they were like, bro, your YouTube channel could be like the shit, but you got to tone it down because you don't have a filter. And I'm like, well, if I tone it down, then it's not me. And I was like, but I'll see what I can do. But even then, even me being me, I'll talk shit about your animals and how you treat your animals, how you keep them all day, but I will never attack you personally. One, I don't know these people. You know what I mean? And so for somebody to say something like that to someone else, regardless of what they were doing was stupid or not, like that's insane. And there's been other incidents, and I've had some issues come up that I wasn't expecting as well, dealing with some people, and I was just like, I would have never thought that something like that would have happened. And I'm just like, wow, like that's where we are right now in the reptile community, like with all the other shit that we have to be worried about. So I definitely do think that the reptile community and some of the people are definitely spread. Dude, I mean, listen, dude, somebody told me, and this is a reptile guy, because I wouldn't give them like open access to my notes from Indonesia, from when I lived in Indonesia for 3 months. And it wasn't even that I didn't say that I wouldn't. I just wasn't going to post everything on Facebook because I'm not on there enough. I was like, look, brother, here's my number. Call me. He didn't want to call me, but then he said that I was a disgrace to the black culture. And I'm like, well, I'm half white. So what am I doing for the... But, you know, stuff like that. I couldn't believe it. I was like, I just came here to talk about scrub pythons because I won't give... And other people have told me other things. And I'm just like, dude, that's crazy that we're getting that personal. So, yeah, I do. I definitely do.
Well, I mean, just like you said, with any aspect, and I said this many times too, it's just anything that people are involved in. But I'm sure if we go watch primates in their natural, you'll see the similar things, backstabbing, all this stuff. Right. But yeah, it's it makes me sick. That's why I stay out of a lot of stuff. And if I do, I mean, I don't agree with a lot of stuff, but you'll never hear me say anything. And if I did have a problem with somebody I know, I'll like message them. But I think people just want that pat on the back that can't even think of the word, but that's.
I understand exactly what you're saying, bro. I mean, it's a different time, because when did you start getting into reptiles? What year?
Like posting wise, or just in general?
Just in general. Like me, I started in '88, so
yeah, probably. I'm just gonna guess, like, I'll just say 2000 to be safe, because
you're a little bit younger, but even then, there was no social media. The internet was still fairly new. It didn't operate the way there was no monetary gratitude, because now that's what it's about. And I'm not saying that if you're not working hard on your content, if they're going to pay you, then you definitely deserve to get paid. But what I am saying is, if you're using animals solely to do dumb shit with, and you really don't care, and you're not providing any information on these animals to help them out in any way, then yeah, I got a problem with that. I do. Because at the end of the day, legislation doesn't want us to have pets, especially not no shit like this. And you got 30 of them. You know what I mean? Like we're already. I don't know if you knew this, but you know the government has done studies on us. I have the articles if you want to read them. They've done studies on reptile keepers.
Really?
Yeah. They've had college professors do studies on our mentality and, you know, what makes us tick and things like that. Yeah. Like I really, you know, like I said, like, dude, I'm like so deep into this, and I know just through certain things that I, you know, growing up in DC, and I've seen them do certain things, which kind of prompted me to, you know, go a little bit deeper than you would. And it's crazy the stuff that you find out. And that's how I got access to like all these numbers. And I learned how to find like air bills and things. So I would remember when people would tell me, oh, I can't ship this day. And then I'd go and look because I'd already paid them, and they're telling me they're not shipping. And then I'm like, but bro, your name is on the thing for next week, bro. Like, send me my money back, please. So, but
you better send me that study, or I'm gonna put you on blast.
So and you know, and that's a you know, it's very weird. I guess guys like me or you are coming up, and even people who are older than us. There's no way in hell that our brain then would have fathomed how, you know, to be doing this on a cell phone. And then, you know, now, even in the 2000s, you had to put in legwork to get your animals, right? You had to call and get a price list and look through Reptile magazine. A lot of these guys have never even read a Reptile magazine, you know, or let alone have seen one. And you had, you know, but you had to do the legwork, and you didn't get to see the animals most of the time. I don't think you really started getting to see the animals until, I mean, specific. Like if you were buying like morph stuff, like Bob Clark would send you pictures, but he should have. You were paying him like $30,000 for a Lucy or whatever. But majority of the animals we bought, we didn't get to see them. We had to talk to someone, and you'd end up having conversations with people.
Oh yeah, definitely. I guess what I was thinking of when he asked that was like, as a kid, like. The stuff I got was like at pet stores, so that's a little different. But I do know what you're meaning about. Like I've seen the Crutchfield's little list.
Yeah. The price list back in the day. Yeah. Yep. Tell you how many males, how many females. I mean, it was. You'd always be so anxious, bro. Like you get the Reptile magazine, you call, and I'd have to call from school because my aunt, like, they didn't support this shit at all. And that's why I wanted to ask you, like. How did your family, like snakes are one thing already in itself, and lizards and frogs. And sometimes families will tolerate turtles and frogs, you know, coming in the door, maybe even a tarantula. But how did they react when you were like, I want to mess with snakes? And then you were like, and then I'm going to mess with venomous snakes. Like, how did they take that?
So, I mean, they didn't, like you said, it was lizards and turtles for a long time. And then my parents finally let me get like a corn snake, and
I think that was everyone's first snake.
Yeah. So, but even though they didn't like them, they would still take me out herping and stuff. Like they're the best, and that's the type of stuff like that meant the world, you know. Gotcha. They would take me out looking, and TV shows, Steve Irwin and Jeff Corwin, all that stuff. We'd watch that together. And so even though my dad doesn't like snakes still, but my mom will like, she's fine with them, I think, to some extent. Like she's held snakes. We've gone out catching stuff.
Didn't she do a video with you one time, I think?
Probably, yeah.
I think I saw her in a video with you, I think, one time.
Yeah, so she'll hold like the ringneck snakes that we catch, and there's both super supportive though. So even though they don't really like them, but I'd say my mom tolerates them. Like she'll go in the snake room and look at them and stuff, but my dad won't step foot in there.
Well, that's good though, bro, because that's good, because some households like mine was total opposite. Like in order for me to get stuff, like I had to do all this crazy. It was always an ultimatum. You know what I mean? And then it was never what we agreed on when we got there. And so it was, and then, oh my God, I remember one of my friends, we went snowboarding one night in Whitetail in PA. And we came back, and this kid I had an Everglades rat snake, bro. I almost had a head explosion begging for this snake for so long. It was from a pet store that I used to work at back in the day. And I remember when it came in, and I kept telling, I was like, bro, hold this snake, just take it off. I'm going to just beg my people until they let me get it. And eventually they let me get the snake, and we go on this ski trip, and little did I know that this dude left the top open, and it got out. Bro, I never told my people that to this day, because if I did, she'd have never, ever, ever let me bring another snake into that house, like ever. So I was like, dude, Mark, I was like making her take me to buy pinkies, and I didn't have anything to feed them to. But I knew, you know what I mean? Like I had to, and then, but like any kid does, you get caught up in other things, and then you start to forget. And then one day she was like, "You haven't asked me to take you to go get any mice for that snake," and I'm like, "Oh, it died. I thought I told you." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I ended up getting a blood python like soon after that. And this was, like I said, this was back in the day. So this was before you got into this was like when there was no ship your reptiles back then. Like you had to go to Delta Dash to pick up everything. So this is like back in the day. So it's like I said, it's very different. But it's good that like I said, to hear people whose parents, even though they're really not like on it, but they still fueled it. Because like I said, I had to fight like hard for that shit, man. Like super hard. And like if I did anything, if my grades like slipped, you know, come in there and take everything out of my room, like crazy shit. So
that reminds me of that first corn snake. Like it got to a point, I don't know what was going on, but my mom had to watch over it for a little, and I think she forgot to put the lid on all the way. And it got out, and out of everyone's room, my dad was woken up in the middle of the night with the corn snake on his chest.
Oh, wow.
Out of everyone that went there.
Wow.
I'm sure I've asked you this before, and I'm sorry if I'm asking you questions.
No, you're good, bro. We're just having a conversation. Yeah. Man. It's all good.
But growing up like that, where'd the love of these animals come into play?
Well, I mean, I come from a family of farmers, right? Mm-hmm. So in 85, at 4 years old, like I was helping them whelp litters. So my family at that point were trying to make themselves a better herding dog, so that they were doing a lot of like border collie crosses into German shepherds, into standard sheepdogs, things like that. So I was around, you know, to see some of that stuff. You know, so they would have me in the barn when they were whelping litters, you know, helping them set up the lights and getting the hay ready. And my mother is an animal lover. My grandmother tolerated them, but everyone knew that I was like, you know, they could see it. And so my grandmother, she fueled it she would bring me home like on her lunch break. Like she'd go out and catch me praying mantises and whatever she could and bring them home in jars. And when my mom would be off in college, before I went to go live with my aunt, she'd catch something. She'd bring it home. The most I had ever seen living in the States and then being in South America were garter snakes, and I mean there were fucking fertilances or everywhere. But you see that stuff from a distance, and then you move on. But when I got here, like here permanently, when I had to go live with my aunt, which wasn't what I wanted to do, that's when they took me to the pet store. Like, bro, this was 88. I actually have because I've never done like a personal interview. So I had one coming up, but in 88, I was 7 years old. My aunts set up these youth programs in DC, and there was a pet store like a block away. And they walked me down there. They walked in, and she's talking to the owner, looks at me. They look at me. They shake their head, and she's like, all right, they said you can stay here. And then she just leaves. You know what I mean? And like just leaves me there. And I'm not a big guy now, and I was 7, so I was a little kid. And I remember walking in there, bro. They had a pond with a waterfall. There was a Madagascar day geckos running around, catching in the store that they would use to catch all the loose crickets. Huge tank of leaf tails, like every type of leaf tail you could think of. I had no clue what I was looking at. They take me in the back, bro. The first time I ever saw white-lipped pythons, all this stuff. Like, so from there, I was hooked. I was like, man, okay. I don't even know what half of this stuff is, but, and my first job, I don't know if they still call it this. I don't know if people still do this. Probably not. I'm surprised. I've said this before. I'm surprised someone hasn't been like, oh my God, that's so inhumane. Back in the day, they used to call it stunning. Are you familiar with that term? Stunning mice? Have you ever heard of that?
I think I got an idea of what you're saying, like smacking
their heads, right. So that was my first job there. My first day, they brought these 2 big 5-gallon buckets of mice out, live mice. And the owner's son, who's a few years older than me, they had this wooden table back there. And he's like, all right, that's what you got to do. And he picks a mouse up and he thumps us on the head, and he throws it in the bag, ties it up, and he throws it in the freezer. And I'm like, why are we doing that? And he's like, oh, because some people, they don't want their live prey for their. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, but why would you want to not feed your snake live animals? Because like that was like my thing. It's like one of the reasons I got into it, because I wanted to see him eat. That was a big thing for me. But yeah, that's where it started, bro. Like in that little pet store. I bought my first green tree from there in like 92. It only lived 45 days, but no one knew anything about him really then. There wasn't a ton of info. But yeah, that's where it started. And it just never left. It was like an everyday thing. Mark. Like by the time I was 13, I was teaching adults our age now at the botanical gardens in DC about the local reptiles, because they caught me stealing shit out of there like 4 times. So,
yeah, I can't imagine being around all those animals and loving it, not even knowing what some of them are.
Right. Plus, like I said, like my people, like they were like they would not let me bring home. Like it started with like the first cold-blooded things I was allowed to bring home were the house geckos and anoles. I don't know how many of those I had, because prior to that it was hamsters and guinea pigs. Then I convinced them to let me get some inverts. And then when I went to boarding school, I don't know if you've seen any of the podcasts I've done. Then when I went to boarding school, I was like in the sports program, but bro, I would like be running track or be in the middle of a soccer game and see a snake and just do a like beeline up to my room, grab a bag, come back down, throw it in the bag, run back up to my room, and then run back and finish the cross country meet. Like so many, I was on
just running off doing
so many times. Like, dude, they blamed like 2 meets that we lost on. They're like, bro, I'm slow. We were gonna lose anyway. There was no way we were gonna beat them. But yeah, I was telling that story on Animals at Home podcast. We were in a there was the rec room was in on the campus, and they had pool table, video game on one end, TV lounge on the other end, right? So Mark, dude, we're in there and we're playing Mortal Kombat, me and this guy, and he's talking shit like, bro, I'm the best at Mortal Kombat. I'm like, yeah, bro, I've been champion in this area like 2 years running. I'm undefeated. Da 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 da. I'm gonna crush you. And then all of a sudden, we just hear this thump. We turn around, and then there's this snake. There's this black snake on the pool table. So immediately, like, I could care less about Mortal Kombat because in my mind, like, nothing supersedes animals. You know what I mean? So I stopped doing what I'm doing again. I grab this snake and I run it up to my room and I like rip the pillowcase off my pillow. I throw it in and I go back down and we get back on the game. Long story short, the entire ceiling collapsed and there was like, I don't know how many dozens of black rat snakes up in the ceiling. I don't know if they were breeding up there, what they were doing up there, but there was at least 50 or 60 of them. The whole ceiling just collapsed, and the thing that people were going and I'm in there like,
you died.
Right? I don't know where to grab first, but so yeah, that's
funny how you're talking about Mortal Kombat, and I remember specifically whatever the first Mortal Kombat movie was that came out. It might not even be the first. I remember being a kid and my brother and I are going to see the movie. My mom was taking us and there was a garter snake. I remember it so vividly. And she said, you can't touch the snake. If you touch it, we can't go see the Mortal Kombat.
Mark's like, start sweating and shit.
Like, yeah, like I'm thinking in my head. I can still remember that.
Like,
who'd you play as? Scorpion?
Scorpion is definitely my guy. Scorpion, the ninjas, basically all the ninjas. Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Reptile, Ermac, and then Noob Saibot. Like, I'm so mad, bro. Like, I had a PS5. I bought the new Mortal Kombat. Like, that's the only reason I bought the PlayStation. Actually, I didn't even buy it. My sister gave me hers because she wasn't playing it, so I didn't even buy it. But I bought the game to play on this PlayStation because I was telling my sister, she's like, yeah, bro, I'll just give you mine. And I bought the game, and it would never let me play online. I still haven't been able to play online to this day. So I just stopped playing it. And now they got this whole new thing with this new Noob Saibot, and I'm like all mad because I can't play it. So, but yeah, no, dude, that was my shit, dude, back in the day. Who did you? Were you a Mortal Kombat fan? Like, or you like? Yeah,
like maybe. I just really like Scorpion. That was actually when somebody was asking the name of the corn snake, that first one.
Yeah.
I never had a name. I named it Scorpion because of that.
Gotcha.
I just loved him. And yeah.
Now Scorpion's definitely my guy. So dude, are you breeding? Do you breed, or are you just keeping? Or are you one of those like, if I breed, great. If I don't, that's great too. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, I think it's more like I've done it 3 times just to see if I could. And but the thing is, I don't really talk to many people, so
right. So it's like, as far as
I just have 50 snakes in, and then
that's my thing with this is like, I originally, like, I had planned to have 6 forest cobras, and I was just going to have forest cobras, and I was going to breed them, and I still would like to get him a girlfriend, but after I started thinking about it, I said the same thing you said. Like, I do know a lot of people, but I don't know a lot of people that I would trust with a forest cobra. So I was like, what am I going to do with 30 forest cobras? You know what I mean? Like, I don't have the space to house them. So what am I going to do? Like, feed them back to their parents? Or try to sell what I can? Or, because, I mean, you know, and so that's a part of being responsible. You know, like, extreme, especially when dealing with venomous snakes, is definitely being responsible. What species forest cobra do you have?
Savanula and Melanoluca, but I gave that one to my buddy Colin, who I think you've
Colin. Okay, yeah. Colin. So he
loves forest cobras. He's somebody I trust. Like, that one is a psycho. I thought I was going to keep it forever because I don't know anyone that could handle it, but he's really good with them.
Right.
But I think that's it. And he has a Guinensis. He has one.
Okay, that's what this one is. I don't know too many people that have the Guineensis. I don't know too many people that have them, and I haven't seen them for sale in a while. I've been trying to find a female because I didn't want to crossbreed him unless I had to, but it looks like unless I can find someone that will loan me a female or want to take my male on, that I will have to cross. If I did, I'd probably cross with a bandit. But
yeah, I don't know if it is or the Guinensis. They're still kind of dark, right?
Yeah. This guy is like so you know the one that that Dingo had. Like this guy is almost identical to that one, except he's even darker. His belly is weird. Like a section of it is like bluish black, and then another section of it is like it's almost like speckled black, yellow, and white. So it's weird. But he was sold to me as a Guinean. I mean, he's huge. He's massive. He's a WC. I've had him just about as long as he's been here from out of his import. He's definitely a Togo locale. He's got those weird markings, which only I think your Forest Cobra has markings.
Like the little chevron type?
Yeah, on the back. And it's got like the bands under that. Like he's got that. Because I know not all of them have it. Some of them do, and then some of them don't. But
I don't even know for sure if the one I had is a Melanoluca, since I just called it that since when they originally just were considered that. But
well, I think we only have access to 4 of the 5 species. Because I think the Sao Tomes are not allowed to be collected. So I don't know of anybody that has a Sao Tome Forest Cobra. But the other ones were in rotation. It's like I said, except for this species, I remember seeing them, but I don't see them for sale anymore. But were the ones that you had, were they wild caught or were they CB?
Honestly, I have no idea because that was one of the ones that was probably a mistake because I saw it. I don't go to shows because it's hard not to get something.
Right.
And I saw it. And, you know, sometimes it's hard to tell, especially if you're excited when you see something. That thing was so unhealthy, so it probably was wild caught. But, yeah, the other one was a gift, the Savanula, and I think it was captive born, if I remember correctly.
I think almost all of those ones, if they're babies, they are. Because I remember when Christian and Eric first brought them in, because I actually could have got the original pair. And I don't know why. To this day, I'm like, dude, why the hell didn't you buy those snakes? Like, every time I see somebody, I'm like, why didn't you buy? And then I remember, it's like, oh, because you're shallow. Like, I won't. So, Mark, like, I'm so picky. Like, I can't, like, if I see a snake, let's say I see this Forest Cobra, and I'm like, oh, I'm looking for Forest Cobras, and it's the one that I want, but it's got a rub nose. I won't buy it, bro. Like, I just won't. Or if the tail is like snub, I won't buy it. Like, I don't know
like the Savanula then.
I'm not. I just like I've tried, and I know, and I guess it's a part of me being responsible. I know how I am with animals, because I'll just get rid of it. So there's no point of me bringing it here, and I know that I'm not going to keep it. Because, like, I mean, and it's crazy because people are like, damn, didn't you used to import? And I'm like, yeah, I did. I was like, but, you know, some animals come in banged up and some come in and you think they were CB. You know, I've seen some CB animals that look like you found that thing. Like, where'd you get that from? You know, so it can go both ways. But I was like, I do understand it. But at the same time, if I can avoid it, then I'd like to get, you know, my animal like intact. Like, even with my dogs, I don't let my breed, unless they've done it before I bought the dog, I prefer to cut the ears myself. If I buy my dog, I want my dog intact. You know, the tail, the ears, and I'll make the decision on what cosmetics need to be done. So that there was a Savanula that came in. How big is the one that you have? How old, do you know about how big or how old he is or she?
It was not baby at first. It was probably closer to baby than a juvenile.
Okay, so this
if I'm guessing, it was like a foot long at first.
Okay, so yeah, this definitely wouldn't be the one that I was thinking. Because when this guy came in, there were 4 that came in with him. There was a Melanuca, him, and then 2 Savanulas. One of them, only the reason I didn't get them is because they were all males. They were all males, and I just got him. But one had like about that much of its tail was missing, and it had a snub nose. He was going to give it to me for $200, and I was like, nah, bro. I was like, because I'm going to just try to sell it. I was like, I'm not going to keep it. So I didn't end up getting those either from them. But they're a pain, man. This species is a pain. And I've heard you talk about them. I've heard other people talk about them, and I think we all are on the same page. I don't mess with this snake unless somebody is home. I don't have help, but I still like for somebody to be here. And I know I've heard you say the same thing, about yours. Like, you don't mess with them unless somebody is home. Like, well, so what information or insight could you give to someone about a forest cobra? Because it is unfortunately becoming a popular snake.
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at it is it really depends. My experience with them before that one was they were the most laid back ever. You could just pick them up, probably touch their nose, do whatever. So, but I'm also not foolish and think, oh, every single one's going to be like that. I did think people played it up that they were the craziest.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah. And then I got this one, but the thing was, I don't know, they can just be crazy. It's annoying. I think of it as annoying.
Yeah, it is. When I've had this one, like I said, going into 3 years, the first year, so unmanageable. And he came to me like a little over 8 foot. And this is a 6x2x2. I know he's well over 9 foot now. But that first year, bro, was hard. Like, it was hard. Like, I put him up for sale. Like, like it was like, he was, and his cage didn't look anything like this. I had a hide. I had the cat litter thing for water, and I had the same branches, but they were just in the middle on the ground. Because I'm like, I want him to have some stimulation. I don't want it to be bare bones, but I need to be able to get in there and work with him. He's not a small snake. So he's not growing up with me. Like, you have some smaller ones, they can grow up with you. They can kind of get used to you and build up a tolerance. They know who you are. This fucker had no idea who I was. So for that first year, man, it was difficult just trying to get him from A to B, so I could change the water, get in there and disinfect and clean out. And there were some days like I couldn't get in there for like a week to get the water out, because of where he would position. And anytime I'd come in, he would just hood up, mouth open, and he just wouldn't. He didn't eat in front of me for a year. Now, he's not so bad. But I tell you what, I don't know how your setups are. And when I'm done, maybe you can give us some insight to that. And maybe maybe you've experienced this as well. When I finally finished this and made it more naturalistic, and I ran the branch across the thing, he never went back in the hide. He hasn't been back in that hide it's been 6 weeks now. So I just took it out because I was going to get a lockbox, but he won't go back in the hide. He does not come out of the trees at all. So I'm guessing that was his MO in Africa, was like, get your shit, go back up in the tree. But now it's even more difficult trying to get him out than it was before. And that's why I waited so long. Like, how do you keep your forest cobras? Or is it minimalistic? Is it naturalistic like this? How is your setup?
So at first it was very, I'd say, minimalistic because of how skinny, and he would regurge a lot. So once he got to a point, it took a while. Like, I can't even remember how long it was that he would regurge. It was constant. And then finally he started eating consistently, gaining some weight. And that's when I started adding some stuff. But like you're saying, there were times where I would try a few times and I couldn't get them out. So I just waited, sometimes even till the next day, to do it.
Yeah, man.
Because it's so hard to get them out when they're tangled up and getting around everything.
Yes.
So I understand that completely.
Yeah.
Is this one a flailer?
Sometimes. Not. I mean, I don't know, Mark. He's weird. So like I said, when he first got here, he was more so like, I mean, obviously he was very on the defensive, like any animal would be, you know, when you're first bringing him home. But okay, I'll give you an example. Okay, so we went home to DC for 3 days, and he got out while I was gone. But he can't get out of my room. And it was my fault because, well, actually, it wasn't my fault. I didn't know. So when I built this enclosure, I lost the original tape measure.
And so, yeah, I remember this from that.
Okay, right, all right. So yeah, and so the measurements were off because of that. But I couldn't keep him in the little bin for any longer. So I was like, fuck it. He can't get out of the room. I don't think he'll find that space. But he did before I could fix it. So yeah, he got out and he was hiding in the thing. But he, even that day, he just tried to just find somewhere dark to go. Now, there has been times where I guess in like the first 6 months, he was kind of like, I try to hook him. I'd get to the point where I just throw the hook on the ground because it was just, I was going to get bit, you know, and that's, you know, another reason why I people got to understand sometimes we're not free handling. We may be recording and it may look that way, but sometimes we're actually trying to save ourselves from a bite. Like a hook is not always your best friend. It can sometimes be your worst enemy. But I did have an instance where he just would not stop, and he's so big and he's so heavy, and you start getting tired. You know what I mean? You're standing on your feet, your arms are up, if you've got that hook. So, but it's never been too bad. Now, the other incident I did have in him, it took me about 30 minutes to get him, is when he got behind here. And there is just enough space on the end here for him to just get his head in. And so he just thought he was going to get under there's another enclosure under here, and he couldn't get under. But I didn't want to move this and then crush him or fall. Oh my God, it took me 30 minutes to get that asshole from back there. And I was sweating. Like, I took my shirt off. Like, dude, I was in here sweating, like, because it wasn't even like sweating out of fear. It was because I was tired. It was hot. And, you know, and I was, like you said, I was getting annoyed. Like, shit. Because it is annoying. But what are you going to do? Dude, if that had been like a boa or something, bro, I would have closed this door and went to bed and came back in here the next day. You know what I mean? But you can't do that.
Yeah, so that was the biggest problem with him. Thankfully, Colin has him now, but I mean, even he can see what I meant because he'll flail like crazy. You know, like water snakes or something that you pick up and they just flail.
Yeah, my squam does that. Yeah, my squam does
Any snake that does that, it just, I don't know. It's so, like, just wants you to cooperate.
Yeah.
He wouldn't do it every time, but when it happened, it was frustrating.
Yeah, I was trying to check my squam for nematodes, and I pinned him, and then I lifted it up, and he just went crazy. I just dropped. I'm like, nah, bro, I don't have the right size tubes for you. I have to order them. So, but luckily, when he shed it recently, the 2 scales that I thought might have been problematic came off. I am still force feeding my red spitter though. I got her. She was young, bro. Like she won't eat for me. I am going to try I got some catfish and some monkfish. So I'm going to try to scent with raw fish tomorrow. But I've been force feeding her for the last like 4 weeks. And that shit's annoying. And that's another thing I tell people. Force feeding is annoying in general. Are you prepared, or do you have the skills to do that to a venomous snake of this size, or a venomous snake of that size, or everything in between? Are you prepared to do that shit? Because that's something that we have to do, be able to do, unless you're going to watch that animal die.
Yeah, but I mean? Another thing would be being, like you said, about you not wanting to get certain animals that have little imperfections. Knowing these things, the Cantil I had would not eat on its own, and I had to swallow my pride and ask the one person I knew that did have experience and have him take it in. So it's unfortunate I wasn't prepared at that time, but I also knew that I wasn't prepared and shouldn't do that on my own.
Yeah, no, it happened when you're, it's not like we're dealing with dogs and cats where that is the less likely thing that you would deal with is one of them not eating. With reptiles, it happens all the time, brother. Like when I was dealing strictly with green tree pythons for a decade and a half, bro, you know how many green trees I get in that wouldn't eat or they might eat one? Dude, I had a green tree that didn't eat for 2 years. For 2 years, that snake pissed me off, and then I sold him to someone. I told him, I'm like, Greg, won't eat for me. I bred him once, and after I bred him, the fucker stopped eating. He wouldn't eat for me again. He hasn't lost any weight. I was like, if you want to use him, he is proven. If you want to force feed him or whatever, and I said, I'll give him to you for $200, bro. I'm not even gonna. And I said, and that'll include shipping. Dude, I sold that snake to that guy, and then 3 days later, he ate for him. And I was like, right. I was like, what did you feed him? And he's like, I gave him African soft furs. And I was like, bro, that's the only thing I didn't even think of. I was like, bro, I offered that thing frogs. I offered lizards. I offered birds. I offered him everything I could think of. Because it's so funny in the wild, and I just heard somebody recently say this about bolins, how that green trees and bolins and scrubs in the wild are bird eaters, and they're not bird. I'm not saying that they don't eat birds, but that is not like a specific part of their diet. They're nocturnal. What birds, if they're not, I don't know. I'm pretty sure you know it's common sense, bro. Like, doesn't the fact that I've been to Indonesia or whether someone's been there or not, if you have watched any video of nocturnal animals, what is the first thing they do when nighttime comes? They go down. They don't go up. You know what I mean? So it's like, how are they? I don't know if we have any myths like that with the venomous snakes, but in the non-venomous world, there are all kind of fantastical stories and myths, and I haven't heard any in the venomous world though.
But I'm sure there is.
There probably is. I probably just don't know them. You probably just don't know what they are, because like even coming up, like I remember in that pet store coming up in '88 when they were. The reason I fell in love with the white-lipped python was because, and that's funny because the guy's name was Mark, the guy who was mentoring me at the time. I remember him telling me the story that he told me was how the white-lipped pythons, they sit up in the trees in Indonesia, and the way they look this way for this reason, and they got these extra long fangs because they only eat birds. And it wasn't the truth, but that's probably what someone told him. And that's what he told me, and I was 7, and it sounded amazing. And
especially then, though, too, where you get your information like that.
Right. And so I became obsessed with the white-lipped pythons. I didn't get to own them until way later on, but and those things were crazy because back then almost everything was wild caught, and they had to keep. I remember they had to keep newspaper over the cage. They had a male and a female. Because every time you walked by, they'd strike at the cages every single time. And he's like, oh, I don't want them to get mouth rot. So that's when I started learning like about mouth rot and stuck shed. And, I didn't know any of that stuff. Reptile magazine didn't even exist then. Like that shit didn't drop until 93. So damn, you said you didn't start until in the 2000s. So, 93 was like the most important year for reptiles. Reptile magazine launched. Bushmaster Reptiles opened. Nerd would open not too long after that. The albino ball python would come. The internet, like all in that same time frame. So the 90s, man, was definitely an exciting time for reptiles. And the prices were crazy, brother. They were, man. I wish we could still get some of those prices right now. That would be awesome. I'm trying to think. Let's see. What else do I have? I think we might have got. Okay, is there anything you refuse to keep, venomous wise?
Probably anything big at this point. Because I don't even know if it's that refuse. Like probably big. Just the room, the space, and. At this point in my life, it's not about working with a bunch of different stuff. It's about the ones that I really love. So yeah, I think there's probably more on that list than not.
Right.
I feel like I have all the stuff I love the most.
Yeah, and I think anyone who's watching, like, that's another thing is important. Like, as you're listening to us talk, is like, get the stuff you want, and don't get the stuff that's trending, unless it's the stuff that you actually want, because it's going to end up on Craigslist or somewhere like that. Like, and then, like, because you don't want to get an animal, whether it be venomous or non-venomous, because it's popular. That's the wrong reason to buy anything. We've got enough of that going on in the dog world with the American bullies. Excuse me. I don't know how many ball python breeders we have now. Like, I don't know how anyone even sells ball pythons anymore, because there's like 10,000 breeders. I had never thought the ball python. I thought that industry was going to collapse on itself, but it just kept coming and coming and coming and coming. How about this? Here's a good question. If out of all the snakes you have right now, if you could only keep two, if you could only pick two of those 30 snakes, what two would they be? Mark's like,
the connection's messed up, man.
I knew that was gonna.
Like, there's some that I've had for so long that
It's a hard. I mean, and if that's your answer, that's your answer, brother. Like, your answer is, there is no wrong answer. So, you know what I mean? Even though I'm saying specifically two, but if you can't make a choice, you can't make a choice, man. I understand that. So
yeah, I think that one.
No, but that
hard to answer.
I mean,
that banded snouted cobra, the black Pakistan cobra, and the rhino viper, and the black the black spitter. And that's one thing, the black spitting cobra, I'm not going to say the scientific name. There's a black spitter and the black neck spitter.
Right.
These are common names. But I remember thinking they were the same thing. And somebody that I thought I was friends with was one of those people that everything had to be the scientific name. And after I confused those two, he just stopped talking to me. And I guarantee it was because of that.
Oh, my goodness.
So that's all it took. Couldn't you help teach me?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I remember me and Dylan were laughing about that. I was like, bro, you don't understand. Like, you could be friends with someone for 20 years and be like, man, I don't know why people keep red-eye tree frogs, and all of a sudden you're blocked on all social media. Dude, it's so petty, it's so child, and unfortunately, it kind of makes you, they're like, damn, bro, like, that's crazy. Like, I was really cool with that person, because I had someone like that as well. When I was like really campaigning for the registry and things like that. I mean, I had this person like feeding me information. Like, no, here's so-and-so from the Cincinnati Zoo. Like, he's kind of trying to work towards what you're working for. You guys should link up. And I was like, oh, great. I appreciate it. And then I said something about something I did in high school. And, from there, they just started trying to drop bombs on me. But it's okay, because, I got dodging skills. So.
Yeah. But Mortal Kombat time.
Yeah, for all that Mortal Kombat and Tekken. So let me ask you this: Do you think that we would benefit and this could be general for reptiles and amphibians, but obviously this is living with venom. Do you think we would benefit from more education, or more regulation, or a mixture of both, or neither? Or, either one.
You said education or regulation?
Yeah, either more education with no regulation, or no education with regulation, or a mixture of both. What do you think would benefit us the most?
Education. In an ideal world, maybe mixture.
I would say the same thing. I mean, I don't think regulations help at all. Like I was saying with Spencer, I think it just makes people just kind of say F you to policy, unfortunately, especially when, you try to do things a certain way and then you can't get them done that way. Like, it's unfortunate. So I agree with you. I do think that we definitely need a lot more education. And since we do have these outlets, like I think your channel is educational. I think Dylan's channel is educational. There's a few other channels I think that are educational. unfortunately, there's not a lot of educational channels. There's a lot of channels out there that are just like, who's the next breeder? And then that's all that matters. Or who bought the most expensive snake, or who's got this, or who's got the sickest collection. And that's great. Don't get me wrong. Like, who doesn't want to see someone's collection? And that's cool. But at the end of the day, when the hammer really comes down, motherfuckers are going to be like, man, I wish I never showed them my collection. You know what I mean? Like, I wish I never posted all that stuff on social media. I wish I never did this. Or I wish, like you said, that I was doing more education, or that I was figuring out more about legislation. Because, like I said, I've been here since '88, so I've seen the flip. I've seen it flip so many times. I've seen US Art flip from Andrew Wyatt to Phil Goss, you know, and that whole thing, that whole beef. And you came even later. You came around the time Andrew left, when Andrew was leaving. You know, a lot of people don't even know that name. They don't even know that name. And then when I tell them, I'm like, well, you know, they said that Andrew was stealing money. Whether he was or not, I don't know. But even back then, we had our issues. You know, King Snake wouldn't even support US Arc for a long time because of Andrew. And then there was an Operation Chameleon thing that brought about the Lacey Act, and you know, so we've definitely been taking some hits. And I think and that's why I asked you early on. I think of all these decades that we've been doing this, like, bro, we should be so much better at this. In my opinion, I think we should be so much better at our morals, our values. We should be so much more structured. We should have tons of money in the bank. We should be laughing at legislation. You know, that's how I feel. Because most of the other animal communities are very comfortable where they are. You know what I mean? Like, you try to ban a dog breed that's AKC, it's highly unlikely that that's going to happen. They got too much money. You know what I mean? And they have no problem writing a check. And unfortunately, that's how legislation works. Is there anything that you'd like to see in the community, more or less of? Like, or do you think that we need any direction you think that we go, or anything that you personally would like to work towards, you know, that you think that would benefit all of us as a whole?
Probably just continuing to spread that unity message. I mean, I don't think in reality, it might affect a few people, but we know how people are,
right,
and what works, and that's always, I think it's just going to continue in that direction. But that's all I want to do, is just spread love and bringing it back full circle to the initial thing about negative comments. One of the reasons I don't reply with how I feel is because somebody's talking about chopping my snake's head off, and I put a little cat emoji, and I got it reported in a little warning that's still on my Instagram account from a cat emoji. But they can
bro, it's it's crazy.
Yeah, like, what do they even read? Even posting on YouTube, do you know how many times that I post and it's demonetized? And you know, I don't post anything bad. I don't cuss. I don't do anything.
No, you don't do anything.
Yeah. And then if I see a video like of somebody smashing a snake into pieces and I report it, YouTube says, "Oh, nothing's wrong." It's just,
yeah, it's funny how things like that. I remember I got flagged because there was a guy, Staffordshire Bull Terrier breeder, that I was following on an old account, and he lived out on a farm, and the rat snakes were going in, messing with his chickens and their eggs, and he caught one. And so him and his wife filmed him grab the snake by the neck, and he starts swinging it around on camera, and then he posted online. His account was private, so only people that would see it would be people that follow him. So I screen recorded it because I'm like, I don't care. I screen recorded it, and I unfollowed him, and I posted it on my story, and then I tagged him in it because I'm like, bro, okay, look, I can't stop you from killing the snake. You know what I mean? But you didn't have to do all that, man. Like, you could have re-released it. If you were going to kill it, you could have just cut its head off and kept it moving. It's the same thing like I was saying with the people who do stupid shit with venomous snakes. Like, bro, like, look, like you said, they're your animals. And like I said, they're your animals. Do what you want to do, but don't record yourself doing dumb stuff that's going to make it harder for people who aren't doing that. Like, that's my only thing. Like, don't, there's just, but how does killing an animal slide? Because it's a reptile. Try to, like you said, let me go get a puppy or a kitten or a pony and swing it around by the head, and I guarantee you somebody will be knocking at my door. Yeah. Won't even be a flag. Someone's gonna get my IP address. You know what I mean? Yeah. And turn it into a physical address, and then somebody's gonna come knock on my door talking about, here's a video of you killing a puppy or whatever you were. You know what I mean? But it's a snake or a frog or a turtle. Nobody cares, unfortunately. Like, we still, and that's, to me, I kind of take that as we're still failing the reptiles themselves. Is that they're still being, because as far back as I can remember, reptiles have always been seen in that way, and I have not known many people, unless you like them, to see them in any other light. So I think that we're failing the reptiles, and I think that the reason we're failing them is because everybody is so, like, secretive in the reptile world, if that makes sense. You know, in a sense, like, I'm trying to think of a better word, but it's like they don't. It's like I talked to them about a registry. Oh no, we don't want that because it's too public. We don't want this. We don't want this. No, I don't want that. I don't want that. I'm like, okay, but you post on social media. So if you were so worried about the government and policies, you wouldn't even be on here. If that was a big thing for you, you wouldn't be posting on social media. So I think that, like I said, in the sense that we have failed the animals, is they should have a better reputation than they do. And the only people that can give them that is us. You know what I mean? Whether it's a venomous snake or a non-venomous snake, whether it's a boa or a bitis, it doesn't matter. Like, they all, everything serves a role here. And for people to still be like that it's okay, or still telling their kids that it's okay to kill reptiles, because that is a common thing. No, you can, no, that's fine. Don't mess with the ducks, but if you see a snake, make sure you kill it. So yeah, I think that after all these years of us doing it, that we are just so far behind. And I know some other people feel this. I know a lot of other people feel the same way. That we're just lacking, like just as a whole. But yeah, bro, like that's pretty much it, man. We went for an hour and a half. Unless you got some comments or some questions or some shout outs. It's pretty much a wrap.
I think we covered a lot, and I think it is a good way to end it, is that we need to do better in showing people the truth. And man, these animals are awesome.
For sure.
Grateful for them. We should be honored that we have these amazing animals.
Right.
Especially like when I talk about iconic animals, you think of all these certain stuff, but in here we have rattlesnakes. Icon. We should be honored.
But you know, Mark, and that made me think of something I wanted to say early. So I'm glad you said that. And I want people to really listen to what I'm about to say. We don't treat our reptiles the way cat people and dog people and horse people. We think that we do. And I'm not saying, people, that we treat our animals bad. That's not what I'm saying. But I know they're not cuddly and, you know, things like that. But some people do consider their reptiles to be cuddly, you know, in their own way, shape, and form. But Mark, think about this. And I don't know how much you know about dogs or horses or cats, but in the canine world, I can sit here and I can pick 10 different breeds of dogs. And within those breeds of dogs, I can name 10 dogs from each one of those breeds, from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, all the way up to right now. Individual dogs that have presented and proven their phenotype to be legitimate enough to go into the gene pool. How many reptiles can you name by name? I don't know any. Like, how many retics, famous retics were there? Famous red tails, famous green trees. Like, we don't. It's like when you buy a dog from someone, the way it's presented to you, even a cat or even a horse, is presented to you like this. We'll just use my dogs, for instance. So these puppies are off of Dark Silver's Champa and Dark Silver's Chili. In the reptile world, it's, oh, Mark produced these. You know what I mean? You don't even give credit to the parents. Mark produced these. Rain produced these. That's how they're always sold. It's never, it's off of Mark's such and such, letting you know the animal. Well, we know Mark did it, but he used these animals. We don't talk like that about our animal. It's like we want all the credit. We got to be the first. We're the ones who did it. The first. It's all about being the first this, the first that, and none of that shit matters. And if anything, it's about who's doing it the best. Who's got the best animals? Like, I don't even see a lot of people advertise that they have healthy animals. I don't see a lot of reptile ads that say healthy animals or panel tested. I don't see it. And I'm doing a survey and I'm getting people on record, and we're going to tally all this stuff up when I put this documentary together so we can really see like how good or how bad we really are compared to other communities. Because like I said, like, I can't name any famous reptiles. I know I can name a ton of people who are produced, but just because you or I go get 2 boas or 2 pit bulls and breed them, that does not make us breeders. You know what I mean? That's not a breeding program. We just had a litter. Wow, whoop-de-doo, you produced, but that's not a reproduction. And I think we need to start really taking into account, if we're giving these animals names and you are breeding them for programs, I think I should know. You don't know that one scrub? Like, I can think of, there's one scrub named Prada, and that's the only one I can think of. I can't think of any others. I don't know who's got what of his, but I can sit here and tell you about 30 people that I know that have Niggerino dogs. You know what I mean? Because they take that shit super serious, and then they can go to the data bank and they can look and say, oh yeah, that came from Mark. That was his rhinoceros viper. He bred to so-and-so, and then they had 6 babies, and then this is where they went, and they're keeping track of. Nope, we're not doing that. And to me, I think the reptiles deserve that. We've been keeping them for a very long time. So that's me. I'm done yapping. They say I talk too much as it is. So, but yeah, Mark. And like I said, if you want to shout someone out or anything like that before we close out, be my guest, brother.
There's shout you out, man. Thank you for having me on. There's too many friends to say. And I'm sure I'm like dead tired, so I'm gonna forget somebody, and then I'll lose another friend.
Nobody unfriend Mark from this podcast, damn it. But no, Mark, I really appreciate you coming on. Like I said, I know we've been talking about doing this for a while, and I kind of lost my motivation for social media, but I'm glad that I was able to get this record for this mini series, and I definitely appreciate you coming on. Everybody else, I don't know when Mark, this will probably be the 3rd episode. The 2nd episode comes out next Friday. I'll probably just run this as the 3rd episode. For everybody wondering, Antonio from Ink and Venom, you will see him next. You heard the name Colin mentioned in here. You will see Colin. You might see Bennett from Fang Peep in here. I don't know about that one. And a couple more people. I just lost a friend too over something. But it's whatever. So we got a great lineup, and I'm not sure how many interviews I'm actually going to do for this miniseries. It's either going to be 7 or 12. But I particularly picked these people for a reason. I didn't pick Mark because he had 100,000 followers. I could care less. I picked Mark because I've watched his content. I know what this man's about, and he's got great fucking integrity, and that's what I care about. I could have easily banged on someone else's door just to try to get some subs and some likes for someone that I don't even like because they don't know that I like them, but I could have used them. I don't want to go that route. I want to have people on here that I actually want to have conversations with. Until the next, go ahead, Mark. What were you going to say?
People that you already mentioned, like that's what I was just saying is there's the select few that I have are great people, genuine. And Antonio, even though him and I don't talk much, he's somebody that I like truly love. Bennett, Colin, all these people are the few very good people that I love. And Josh, who gifted me the psychotic boa. Ralph, Jesse, there's so many people that I'm grateful to know, and it's through these animals. But yeah, those are great. The second, it's going to be every Friday that an episode's coming out.
Yeah, so that's what it's looking like right now. It's going to be every Friday. The one that comes out this Friday, I upped the time a little bit just because she's from the UK. It's a 5-hour time difference, so I didn't want her to have to watch it at like midnight. But I'm going to try to drop them at like 7 p.m. Friday. I feel like, people are, if it's winter time for the most part, people are at home chilling out, finishing up dinner and whatnot. So, turn on a podcast. But yeah, Friday. And then I'm definitely going to have you come back at some point for a roundtable, like a venomous roundtable when I can put that together. I don't know. It'll be later on. But yeah, no, Mark, we appreciate you having. I know people are going to enjoy this because everyone I told, I was like, no, I got Mark coming on. I'm like, oh, man, I know that guy. I'm like, yeah, he's coming. Don't worry about it. He's coming. I'm like, he's got all that cool stuff over there. And I was like, yeah, we're not going to be pulling out any snakes, though, man. We're trying to get some information. I was like, Mark already has a channel for that. Subscribe to Mark's Reptiles. If you are not, his information will be in the description. But if you're not subscribe. I mean, he's got a lot to see over there. You're going to get some education. But yeah, until episode 4, we will see y'all next time. So peace out.
Take care, everyone.